The senator from Rhode Island.
Well, we are headed into a miserable situation. It is a miserable situation for all of the federal employees around the globe who are going to be put into shutdown mode. It is a miserable situation for our country as the rest of the world looks at us as the gang that can't get its act together and pass simple funding bills for the government. It is an extraordinarily frustrating moment to be here now. There are very few people for whom this is not a miserable prospect, but there are a few of them, and one of them is OMB Director Russell Vought, who is a strange character who has spent his life in the care and feeding of the fossil fuel industry and big polluters, and who takes a perverse joy in destroying American government from the inside. Mr. President, I see that the Majority Leader has come to the floor, asked unanimous consent that when he is concluded and I pick my remarks back up, my remarks be linked back together as if they had been made without interruption.
Without objection.
With that, I yield the floor to the Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank the senator from Rhode Island for yielding. I'll be very quick here. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Senate be in a period of morning business with senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that the Senate now proceed to the in-block consideration of the following resolutions which are at the desk: SRS 427, SRS 428, SRS 429.
Is there an objection to proceeding en bloc? Without objection, the Senate will proceed en bloc.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the resolutions be agreed to, the preambles be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made, laid upon the table, all in block.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Judiciary be discharged from further consideration. The Senate now proceed to SRS 396.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 396, condemning the tragic act of violence on September 10, 2025 in Evergreen, Colorado, and so forth.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent that when the Senate completes its business today, it stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Wednesday, October the 1st, that following the prayer and pledge, the journal proceedings be approved today at the morning hour be deemed expired, and the time for the two leaders be reserved for the use later in the day. Morning business be closed, and Senate resume consideration of calendar number 115, S2296.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. President, for the information of my colleagues, senators should expect 3 votes at 11 a.m. and further votes later in the day. If there's no further business to come before the Senate, I ask that it stand adjourned under the previous order following the remarks of my colleagues.
Without objection. The senator from Rhode Island.
So there will be misery ahead for most normal people, not counting the weird ones who like inflicting pain and doing damage for the benefit of a bunch of creepy right-wing billionaires who've propped them up their whole lives. And the reason we're here is really twofold. One, as they've shown during the Trump regime, Republicans really don't want to govern. They want to rule. They don't want to talk to Democrats, even where they need our votes. Here they need our votes. And yet, what have we been offered to get those votes? Nothing. Not even discussions. The president only met with the Democratic leaders just yesterday. And he didn't seem to be aware of what was at stake here for the Americans who are about to lose a huge health care benefit. They just go wildly forward. We've seen it over and over again here on the Senate floor. How many times in just the few months that we've been here in this administration, have Republicans done the thing that they were furious when we even talked about doing, to overrule the parliamentarian and change the rules to make things easier for themselves rather than negotiate with us? My count is 4 already. 4! And we're only 9 months in. They don't want to govern. They don't want to talk to us. They want to rule. They want to dictate to us. And at the same time, the other reason we're here is that there's this strange Republican fixation with taking health care away from people. I do not understand it. There are lots of Republican constituents who really depend on Medicaid, who really feel great that they're on Medicare, who really have their family budgets made possible by the credits from the Affordable Care Act. It's not like Democrats get the benefit of this. Everybody gets the benefit of this. And yet, what have we been put through just in these months? $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. Already, hospitals and nursing homes and doctors' practices are reeling at what those cuts mean for their financial viability. Medicare, $500 billion in cuts, hidden in the bill in a tricky way so that the cuts come through sequestration and nobody has to own them. They can do a Pontius Pilate hand wash of the cuts. Well, no, we saw what you did. You own it. It's a $500 billion cut to Medicare. And why you would want to do that, I cannot imagine, but that's what you did. And now we have these cuts to people receiving help, paying for their health care under the Affordable Care Act. It's going to be about 40,000 Rhode Islanders. These aren't people who have loads of money. Their premiums are going to, on average, double or better. I mentioned a retired mental health counselor yesterday. She's going to have $477 in added expense every single month because of this. And it all starts now. It all starts happening now. So when we're told, why are we forcing the issue now? It's because now is when the issue is upon us. When we're told, why don't we negotiate later? My question is, why aren't we negotiating now? Why would we believe when we're told that you'll negotiate later on this when you won't negotiate now on this? Now, when you need our votes, you won't negotiate on something that you say you'll negotiate later? Why does that make any sense? Why is that even remotely credible? The harm starts now. The negotiations should start now. And frankly, what Democrats are asking for is something you ought to be doing anyway, just to help your own constituents. This shouldn't be hard at all. We should not be here having this conversation. This should have been resolved already, except that the Republican majority wants to rule, not govern, and they have this strange fixation with taking away health care, even from their own constituents. Over and over again, we've seen it. We've seen it with the repeated overrulings of the parliamentarian. We've seen it with the Beautiful for Billionaires bill that got rammed through with a simple majority. We've seen it with the change in the rules to allow 100 nominees to go through at a time under advice and consent. We have seen it with clean air standards that help everyone being repealed over and over and over again, the Republicans take the path that allows them to rule, not to govern, that allows them to ignore the minority party even when they need our votes, even when what we're asking for is in their constituents' interests, even when what we're asking for is something that their constituents want. Even then, we're up against this blockade. So I hope that Republicans come to their senses. I hope that the president realizes what he is doing and that we can put an end to this shutdown as quickly as possible. But let me make this absolutely clear. This is a shutdown that lands entirely at the feet of the Republican Party that controls the Senate, that controls the House, that controls the presidency, that won't negotiate with Democrats even when it needs our votes, and that has an unhealthy fixation with taking away health care from their fellow Americans. I yield the floor.
Madam President,